Kingdom Hearts 3 story is just alright, but we'll get to that in a moment. So I finished playing the game last month and I let the game sit with me as a whole before writing this. And I have to say, I enjoyed the gameplay a lot. It was fun, it kept my attention. The frame rate sometimes would drop depending on how much is going on at once on the screen. And this is very noticeable during the Dark Inferno boss fight, specifically phase 3 of that boss fight. I actually died a couple times because he would do something, in turn I would shoot a magic attack, and the next thing you know, he's swinging those blades at 100 miles per hour. But let's be real, the way Square Enix re-releases these games, by the time they come out with a Game of the Year edition, or the PS5, or maybe I just need to get a PlayStation 4 Pro and it won't have frame rate issues. Besides the frame rate, the camera sometimes is a little janky, and this is noticeable on fighting bigger enemies, or when you enter in a form change animation, the camera can go wild when you do that. But in terms of overall gameplay, I definitely enjoyed it. I really like the forms that are associated with each Keyblade. You get different weapons from them. In the Toy Story world, it gives you a hammer, then it has a second form that turns into a drill arm. The drill arm I didn't really like too much, but the hammer was a lot of fun to use. Monster Inc. gives you yo-yos, which admittedly I did not use at all over the course of the game. Frozen gives you these really cool arm blades that I used for a while before I ended up dropping them. My favorite is the standard Keyblade. It lets you go into your Kingdom Hearts 2 outfit, and you get more of a moveset that is accustomed to Kingdom Hearts 2. The Nano Gear from Big Hero 6 and Ultima. Nano Gear made me scratch my head when I first used it because it's just a mashup of all the other form changes, but it does remind me of the Star Saber Sword from Transformers Armada. I'm not sure why, but that's the first thing that came to mind when I saw the form change animation. Ultima is probably one of the coolest form changes I think I've seen in video games. You turn into Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Form Sword, but instead of 2 Keyblades floating around you, you get one long sword and this Noctis-like powers from Final Fantasy 15. But as a whole, I think form changes might be the coolest part to this game. But before we get into things that really puzzled me with this game and it turns into, hey Big Rob, man, stop bullying Kingdom Hearts 3, man, it was great, man. This game is boo-boo easy, to the point that it almost feels insulting to the player. After I make this, I'm probably gonna try a level 1 playthrough of the game, because the lack of critical mode just turns this game into you ruthlessly beating Heartless to death. If I was getting off work, right, let's pretend I'm a Heartless. I just got off work, I did a 7 to 12 shift, and Sora, Donald, and Goofy show up to my door. I'm just gonna be like, all right, man, just take me out back, do what you gotta do, but just not in front of my kids. Because if we're being honest, there's nothing in this game that can really oppose you late game besides the battle gates. And those are fun to a certain extent. I feel like they'll lose their appeal after 3 or 4 times of doing them. And the only one I really see people replaying over and over is Battlegate 14, which is the Dark Inferno boss fight.
Oh, that's easy.
So Terra has a whole model in the game that you don't see in gameplay at all. When you finally run into Terra Xehanort near the end of the game, he's in his Birth by Sleep outfit. And when you look through the enemy database in the Gummy Phone, they have him in his Organization 13 outfit. Now think about how cool it would be if you showed up to the Keyblade graveyard and Terra's standing there, phallus big and hard in one hand, Keyblade in the other, in his Organization 13 robe. And he looks at you and he says, "You won't even make it past me. You will die here." That would have been dope. You don't get that. You get Terra shows up in the Birth by Sleep armor. He's like, "Hey guys, if you think you're gonna fight Master Xehanort today, try again, man. You're not getting past me." This makes me take a step back, makes me look around a little bit, and ask why even put the model in the game in the first place. I know it's probably just taking his head and putting it on an Organization 13 model. I think it would have been cool if we saw him in the Organization 13 outfit squared up fighting against you. That would have felt different, like, yo, they really got Terra. Does he want to be with them, or is his heart so in darkness that he doesn't even know? It would have just had a different effect entirely than just standard, hey, it looks like he was ripped from the past and put in the present and he's fighting us now. Also, Master Xehanort has no cool phrases at all in this game, and it has nothing to do with the voice. Do you guys remember playing the first 2 Kingdom Hearts games? When you're on the beach and you just started fighting Ansem Seeker of Darkness after his monologue and he took over Riku's body, and he looks at you and he says, "Come Guardian." And then halfway through the boss fight, you're whipping his ass and he starts throwing out "Submit." That had a completely different effect. When I heard that, I remember remember going to school and we would run that into the ground saying that so much.
Guardian! 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 Submit! Guardian! Guardian! Submit!
Hell, even Kingdom Hearts 2, Xemnas saying, "We shall go together," or "Warriors of Light, go get me more hearts so I can complete my Kingdom Hearts."
Oh, my Kingdom Hearts. Ruined. No. I'll have to start all over again. Warriors of the Keyblade, go forth and bring me more hearts.
No!
Denizens of light, answer this. Why do you hate the darkness?
It had a different effect entirely. I will say, why I don't think Master Xehanort really has any cool phrases in this game, he does have this one, which I think is probably the best line in the entire game.
Here I and my other selves can be one. United in Scala et Caelum. Here I and my other selves can be one. United in Scala et Caelum. Here I and my other selves can be one. United in Scala et Caelum.
Oh, yeah. Damn.
Damn, boy. Damn, boy, he's thick. Boy, that's a thick ass boy. Damn. Ba-ba!
You don't revisit worlds, and this hurts my heart, man, because it takes the impact of the connection Sora is making with the inhabitants of the world away. In turn, this makes the world feel more like diners as you're on your way to your true goal instead of building those connections with the characters. Also, it makes some interactions feel fake as hell. For example, when you go to the Toy Story world, Buzz isn't too fond of you and he'd rather find his friends with Woody and Rex. I feel by making us revisit worlds, the connections we're making to those characters would feel more genuine as opposed to you drop on the world and you're best friends with the inhabitants within the first 4 minutes. And overall, it's just cooler going back and seeing old characters. For example, when you meet Hercules again, it's like, damn, Hurt, my nigga, it's been a minute. I feel worlds left out is pretty self-explanatory, but I think we all have a world or two we would have loved to revisit. Radiant Garden, or I thought maybe this was going to be the game where we actually get to explore the realm of darkness. And I know someone's gonna say, but Rob, I mean, technically you explored the realm of darkness when you played as Aqua. Stop right there. The game also feels rushed. I feel bad for anyone that was reacting to Kingdom Hearts trailers. I personally stopped watching them around June last year because you saw the last half of this game just from the trailers alone. The way the game is set up, the first 70% of the game is you trying to get the power of awakening, and the last 30% is you just doing the Keyblade War. This is a pretty big one for me, but Sora's conflict with Xehanort doesn't feel authentic. When we look at Riku versus Ansem Seeker of Darkness, we understand their conflict. We understand why they don't like each other. It makes sense. It feels genuine, like, yo, he took Riku's body. So I understand why there is turmoil between those two. But when you look at Sora versus Xehanort, it doesn't feel that way at all. I feel Xehanort is more of the villain to Terra, Ven, and Aqua, as opposed to Sora. And this part definitely contradicts part 3 of this video, but I'm gonna go ahead and be that guy. The last half of this game, we should have played as Terra. I don't know how they would have fit that within the story, but it would have made more sense and would have had deeper meaning. Because personally, I don't think Terra should have been redeemed. But because he was redeemed, look at how much Xehanort took from him. He took his body, he took his father. Like, what? Why is he relegated to a back position and handles enemies off screen while our character does all the heavy lifting. I just want everybody to think about this. If a person takes my body over, they cause so much problems in a universe for 10 years. There is no way I'm gonna just let a younger guy go handle the fight while I'm just like, all right, man, I'm gonna go put my feet up and get me a beer off screen. That's not happening. I have to finish the fight. My last one. Kairi and Lee are bums. They went to a realm where time is stopped completely to train and came out and still got their cheeks clapped. Do you know who Lee is? Lee is that friend, and we all have him, who he swear he has hands, he swear he can take a whole room of 20 to 30 people, and right as he's getting stomped, all he's screaming is, please not in the face, I gotta kiss my mama. I didn't like that they used Lee as a means to break the fourth wall because of how convoluted the story has become. So anything the player might be thinking, Lee is saying in game. And I just didn't think that was too cool. But if you did like that, I mean, hey. And then the last one, I actually forgot, okay? I forgot. Xehanort. Who, what, when, where, why, how? It makes no sense. It's dumb. I'm sorry. I just don't like it. The way she came back, I don't agree with it. But I mean, let's go ahead and get into part 3. Let me just start off by saying that time travel in Kingdom Hearts works, and it makes sense when it's tied to Xehanort. But when you start looking at how some of the other characters are time traveling, that's when I'm looking at this game with a real cocked eye. First confusing time travel point. The heroes show up to the Keyblade graveyard and are met by Terra Xehanort, to whom they fight and barely win against. And let's be real, the people he takes out aren't even major players within the plot, those being Donald, Ventus, and Lee. After beating Terra Xehanort, the entire party is wiped out by the Heartless, which at this point, Sora, with the help of Kairi, goes back in time and gives the heroes a redo.
Whoa. Oh. You okay? Oh.
But this doesn't make sense in the universe because events that are destined to happen cannot be rewritten. So fast forward, we meet Terra Xehanort again, and you can see the plot playing out as before, but right when he's about to clap those cheeks no rubber, Lingering Will interjects himself into the plot to finish a fight from 2010 that we the players don't get to see the conclusion of or even get to play.
Whoa. Terra?
This is impossible.
How I've waited for this moment.
And yes, I know Naminé is the one that brings Lingering Will to the fight, but I have to ask, is Naminé's power able to transcend space and time? I feel this brings up even bigger questions, because even after the redo, the cutscenes play out differently. I'm gonna break these up into 2 realities. In reality 1, after Donald used the Zeta Flare on Terra Xehanort, the Heartless mass forms instantly to consume majority of the party.
No! Donald! No!
But in reality too, the heroes have enough time to recoup, and then we go into a boss battle and use the Union X power. It makes me ask, how many times has this event actually played out before we the player actually interact in them? Almost like a time travel event within a time travel event within another time travel event. The second confusing time travel point has to deal with Terra Xehanort completely. So if anyone is unfamiliar with how time travel works, young Xehanort is coming from the past, and he's bringing his future selves to one point to fight in the Keyblade War. It's a pretty simple concept. When you defeat a version of Master Xehanort in the present, they cannot die in the present because they are not originally from that time. So they are sent back to the past with no memories of the battles they participated in. Except for when we look at Terra Xehanort. When we defeat him, he should be sent back to the past, except he isn't. So what happens in the past now? No one is sent back. This character plays such an essential part to the lore of the Kingdom Hearts universe that how is he able to exist in present day when his past self caused so much strife? Let's list some of them off. My guy created the emblem Heartless. He turned the assistants of Ansem into nobodies. You can't just rip him from that time period and not have him exist where he did so much at. Do you understand what I'm saying? All the other versions of Xehanort return to their original timeline to play out their original role that takes place in their respective game, except for Terra Xehanort. Terra just gets his body back and he stays in the present. So again, I have to ask, if a man goes disappearing that had a lot to do with the plot of the previous games, what is happening now?